The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get
He missed the pit complete. That is crazy
As I
stuff.
said, Freitas is on the grass on the infield for 4. He slides through. He tags Richard Neagle.
Deep on the back roads of Ohio, as you weave your way around the horse and buggies carrying the Amish, you might come across a little racetrack. And that track, despite its remote location, has some deep and rich racing heritage hidden within. Today, our collection of drivers will tackle Mid-Ohio and try their hand at its twisting, rolling hills. We'll find out who manages to come out on top as we get ready to watch Round 6 of the Absolute Beginners League Formula Neagle Cup. And you'll see it all live on the Global Sim Racing channel. GSRC's coverage of Formula Neagle is made possible by ilovesimracing.co.uk, the home for your personal created button boxes. The Season 9 champion will be awarded a custom-made button box from I Love Sim Racing. Sim Racing your way. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, standing in for Bill Zahn, and with me in the booth is Richard Losper, who is standing in for Adam Young. Behind the scenes is our director, Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Richard, Mid-Ohio labels itself a sports car course, but it's seen everything from IndyCar to NASCAR and even top-level motorcycle racing. Tell us a little bit about the track.
Yes, indeed, and a very good evening to you, and hello and a big welcome to all our viewers as well. Well, yes, indeed, Mid-Ohio as a track, it is a 2.25 miles, that's 3.62 kilometers track. There are 13 turns. We are going to be running the full track here today or tonight, as the case may be, and of course we have a 45-minute race in the Skip Barber Formula 2000. This track has a lots of elevation changes. Turn 1 is a very fast turn, and look for lots of action and overtaking maneuvers into turn 1 there. Then you go up into a hilly section and down into a section, a long back straight there, which is curved and leads you down into some very, very fast areas of the course. Some beautiful names here like Thunder Valley, the different sections of the track that people love to race on. Coming out onto the area, again, you've got Thunder Valley, as I mentioned before. You've got bunches of other areas where it's quite scary to race, but I have to say it's a track that I personally like. I think it's well suited to these cars, to be honest, the Formula 2000 Skip Barber. So it's going to be an exciting race, no doubt. But let's have a bit of a look at at a lap guide, and we'll see what it takes to negotiate one of these little cars around this track.
All right, we've got Amjad Yaman in the GSRC Skippy, so let's do a lap around Mid-Ohio. Coming down to turn 1, this is a quick and difficult corner to get right. It's pretty common for drivers to get overambitious and understeer into the dirt on the outside of the exit. That's because everyone's pushing for a great run off the corner to keep themselves safe up to the keyhole. That second turn is the first good place to try and overtake, but with it being uphill in the braking zone, you can get in pretty deep before having to throw out the anchor. As you come through this 180-degree bend, though, the awkward crest can make it hard to get the car to turn in the way you want. Regardless, like most hairpins, it's best to square it off and make sure you can get a nice early launch. This is especially critical with the corner taking you onto the backstretch. Most of the battles and overtakes that happen today are probably going to take place along here. And to add to this potent mix, you've got the heavy braking into China Beach. With it being downhill, it's relatively easy for a driver to push it that little bit further and get stuck in the sand on the other side. But the interesting thing about passes here is the track switches back. Sometimes it can be possible to defend from the outside if you can stay side by side until the blind entry to madness. Then the circuit swings off to the right one more time, and that guides the car into the S's of 7 and 8. But the curved braking going from 8 to 9 makes it tough to both keep the car stable and not clip the grass. Then you have to attack turn 9. Early apex the car so that you have a straighter exit over the hump. And now we're into Thunder Valley. As the track weaves to the right, hug all the way up to that Armco because you really need every inch of track for this next bit. Dab the brakes and swing it over the blind crest of 11, then pray you didn't take it too fast. If you stayed on track, don't get too excited celebrating because you'll want to slow the car up for the carousel. There's a few ways to tackle this beast, but with a decreasing radius, I've always found a double apex to be the best approach. After that, fly through the final kink and complete your lap around Mid-Ohio. That should give you a good idea of what it takes to wheel one of these Skip Barbers around here. Now, we are getting late in the season for the championship, so let's look at the driver standings first and see where everybody sits. Iro Noom, 4 for 5 this season on wins, so he is looking mighty strong once again. That gives him an incredible 30-point gap over David Burns in second. Pierre Kaki, 39 points back from Iro in third. This has been a decent season for Pierre's, being up in the top 3 in points. Let's see if he can keep that up and finish on the podium in the championship. Tuan Tran moves up to 4th, though, but only just barely. A 2nd place over a 3rd place at the last round in Road America moves him 1 point ahead of Bastian Hausman, who now slots down into 5th. And Richard, they also have a teams championship with each of these drivers having 2 drivers per team. What's the points look like there?
Yes, indeed they do. So first in the team standings is Bushfink Racing Pink with 111 points. Second, we've got the famous Mama Jean Racing, and that of course would involve our friend Tuan Tran, and he's minus 18 points from from Bushfink. And then in 3rd place we have DBR2 Stupid Dogs. So that would be Vincent Brem and I forget the other guy now. They minus 43.
I believe.
And 4th, we've got DBR Duet, is that? Rust, it's called. And then in 5th place, we've got DBR Team Talent. So there's your top 5. 3rd place has moved up a little bit, and 4th place has moved down. So obviously there's been a swap there between those two.
Those two also separated by a single point. So very tight race for that position. Let's go over some of the series details if you're new to Formula Neagle Cup. Obviously, we mentioned their wonderful sponsor, ilovesimracing.co.uk, making button boxes for sim racers all over. This is the 9th season that they've run the Formula Neagle Cup. So this has been a very popular car for this series. Now, as we mentioned earlier, it is round 6 of 7, and these are all road races for this series. Now, 4 of the races are done at 45 minutes. Those are the sprint races, and the endurance races are 3. And today is a sprint race at 45 minutes. Now, they do not get any drop races with so few rounds in the season. So if you don't show up, it effectively counts as a DNF. You got to get out there and you got to race, Richard. Let's go over the race details. Richard, tell us what they're going to be facing today.
Yes, we have an open setup for these cars, which you would expect from a championship that's been going for a while now. The fuel is limited to 65% and gives us a fairly large pit window for them. They are going to be doing qualifying as they are doing now. It's a 2-lap lone qualifier, which means that each car has to go on track by itself and do 2 laps in the allotted 10 minutes, and the qualifying time will count. I like that format. The race itself is 45 minutes. It's a standing start. There are no cautions. The incident cap is the iRacing standard of 17 incidents. There are no fast repairs, as once again you would expect. And the weather is dynamic, which is the default now for most of the races that iRacing put on. Back to you, Joe.
And a quick correction, they actually get 3 laps, so they get 1 more. Even still, that's very tricky. You don't get many opportunities to make mistakes. You got to be clean, and you got to be quick, and you got to be consistent to be able to qualify well with this lone qualifying format. Now, they've got about 3 minutes left, Richard, so they've got a little while before they sort things out on the grid. Let's talk a little bit about some of the places that drivers can make overtakes around here. Now, our own Kevin Brown used to love to say that the whole track is an overtaking spot, but there's certainly some places that are a little bit more prone, and where do you expect that to be?
Yeah. Now, I will mention that I was in an altercation one time with a driver, not in the Absolute Beginners League. This was just in an official race where somebody tried to overtake me going into the carousel. And when I had a little go at him, he said to me, any corner is an overtaking corner, and that is what you are alluding to. But really, the key passing zones are, in fact, at the top of the hill, at the corner called the Keyhole. And then, of course, down the back straight there, as you head into the two left-handers there called China Beach. So that's at the end of quite a long back straight now. With the draft that these cars develop, those you will see will be key passing zones. There's also an opportunity to pass into turn 1, although that is more tricky. There's some danger zones here, and it's the section which we call the Madness section. Turns 9 through turns 11. So people attempting to pass there are taking big risks. So the drafting down to China Beach we've mentioned, and that I think really will be the big passing area, Joe.
Yeah, I don't doubt that one bit. And we actually coming up to, let's see, that was turn 9 right there that we saw Tran go through.
Yes.
That takes you into Thunder Valley. Very difficult braking into it. And this one is 11. This one scares me, Richard. No matter how many times I've driven it, this turn 11 up towards the carousel, that left-hander, it's so fast and it feels like you really can't see anything.
That is true. And what tends to happen in any car is that you are under threat there. Guys are coming full speed down through the valley and then up that little crest again there, and then you've got to take that left-hander. It's fairly easy from a driving point of view to do the corner, but you've got to have your eyes all over the place to see who's in front of you, who's behind you, who might be next to you as well. So very tricky corner, as you're saying.
And I can tell you from real life, I've been to this track multiple times in person. One thing that Thunder Valley really doesn't get across here in the sim, that if you're not really looking around and paying attention to, there's a reason it's called Thunder Valley. The hills on either side are extremely tall. You really dip down into something that's sort of surrounded in this cacophonous sort of section that just fans kind of line up along the hills because you can get a pretty good view. But fantastic track, I can say from experience, and it's sure to put on a good show as qualifying just finishes up here. And in fact, I think everybody's got their laps in. With it being a standing start, let's go over the order of the grid. Iro Noom is going to put it on pole once again. Tuan Tran is going to start on the outside of the front row. Piers Kaki will start in third with David Burns in fourth. Michael Haflidason will be starting the race in fifth with Bastian Hausman. He's got some work to do from sixth. Liam Quinn will be starting in seventh, followed by Vincent Bremen eighth. Rob Van Itteking in ninth, and William Martins de Silva, Richard, will round out the top 10.
Certainly. Then from 11th downwards, we've got Edgar Sancinelli in 11th place. Eric Leukel will start from position number 12. Adam Ollinson from position 13. Mark Riddell, position 14. Jeff DeHaze in position 15. Kevin Mills in 16. Thomas Kick in 17. Michael Key in 18th place, and rounding out the field in 19th place will be Mark King.
Relatively small field today compared to Road America last week. However, a slightly different start time due to broadcast needs, and we're incredibly thankful for the Absolute Beginners League being willing to bump things up so that we can get this race in today. And I'm sure it's going to be an exciting one as the clock ticks down. We wait for all the cars to finish gridding. They have a pit stop expected, in fact, pretty much required with the limited fuel, but we don't expect tires to be taken in these cars. It's going to be how quick and how accurately can you get the fuel in. Almost ready to go racing. Yeah, absolutely. As we see them from under the bridge there before. There we go. Cars are revving now. Waiting for the lights to drop. There it is. Iro Noom gets a decent go off the line. Already our top three slotting in. However, look at this. Tuan Tran gets a great jump, but he has nowhere to go. Looks around the outside, has to slot in behind once again. Everybody starting to get single file, a few side by side through turn one. But with them starting slower, there's no issues there, Richard.
Yeah, and just having a look from Liam Quinn's car, who's back in 7th place. Gives us a very good look as they go through the keyhole for the first time. He's being overtaken, or at least challenged, Liam Quinn there by Vincent Brame, I believe that is. and they go down the back straight for the very first time, heading down towards China Beach, Joe, and a great sight to see these open wheel cars at full speed. Up front, there's a lot of challenges going on, so let's go over there and have a look.
Challenge for the lead. Tran trying to go around the outside of China Beach. He can't quite keep it side by side, down into madness. Pierce Cocky took a little bit of a look behind them. It looks like Haflidason tries to get in there. Still managing to get side by side here for madness. That is not easy, and it's costing them tons of time. You can see the top three are starting to streak away. Haflidason moves himself up into fourth.
Yeah, big challenge there. And let me say that these guys have done well to have absolutely no contact in this very first lap here, where the tires are still cold. They're jockeying for position, there's no doubt about it now. The leaders go through the carousel, and they come to finish the lap number 1 of this 45-minute race. And our leader is Aeronom.
Starting to stretch away just a little bit, but not really building a huge gap. Meanwhile, that battle for fourth is really on, as Haflidason and Burns actually went side by side through 11. Not an easy task.
Yeah, exactly. And now there's a little break, though. The top three of Aeronom, Tuan Tran, and Piers Cocky have broken away from fourth place as they go through the keyhole once again. Aeronom got a little break on second and third place as well, so he's stamping his authority on this race early. And then we've got Michael Haflidason. He's under threat here by indeed David Burns, who overtakes him heading down towards China Beach. Michael Haflidason gives up the spot and now under threat once again by another car as they slide the car through China Beach. Who was it? That was Bastian Heisman sliding his car through China Beach. They're good to see, Joe.
Well, normally I condone smart driving, which Haflidason did by giving up the ghost coming into there, but unfortunately it bit him with Hausman coming through and saying, thank you, all I need is one invitation, and Hausman is into fifth. Still, Haflidason decided he's been a little bit too timid, and he's coming back at him. He's right on the gearbox, takes a little bit of a peek, but there's no room coming through 11, and they get back into line. They're going to come around through the carousel and complete lap 2 now.
And indeed, and just make a note that Bastian Hausman and Tuan Tran are a team, and they have that purple and black colors, which is characteristic of Mama Jean. If you've seen other cars that Mama Jean runs in other series, those are their colors. So we'll be keeping an eye on the purple and black cars. Up near the front, indeed, it's Tuan Tran trying to get in on terms there with Aeronom. And Aeronom is just a phenomenal driver, Joe. I've seen him now in a number of cars, both in this series and in other series, including even a CSES. Whichever car he takes on, he is always near the front in that car.
Seems like the fast drivers will be fast drivers, no matter what you stick them in. And Tran's able to just kind of hold on right now. Certainly not threatening. He's about half a second back from Noom. And Piers Cocky is staying much closer to Tran than Tran is to Noom. I suspect that second place, once Noom is able to break that draft, second place is going to erupt in a battle.
But Joe, now with these cars, I've driven these cars just a little bit, and these cars tend to get faster as the grip comes in. The grip comes in very slowly in these cars. They've got tires which kind of look like road tires, and they take a while longer than race tires to warm up. So you can see now that the gap that Aeronom had initially in the first couple of laps, they're on lap 3 just finishing up now, that gap is not as pronounced as it was just a bit earlier. And Piers Cocky and Tuan Tran are right there with him, so he's got his work cut out as the grip starts to come to these drivers, and they are then able to take more chances in their driving. So top 3 certainly are very close to each other, and it's going to be very interesting to see how that pans out. Bearing in mind, of course, I believe from my knowledge of the series that there will be a pit stop involved as well, I think. Is that correct, Joe?
That is correct. They will have to take a stop for fuel. Now, let's go back to 5th and 6th, because Haflidason keeps taking a look at just about every corner, but decides not to stick his nose in. He knows the race is early on. Look at this. He's going to have the inside, though, of Hausman. As Hausman looks around the outside, gets back into line. Haflidason slides it through China Beach, but holds on to control. Still can't make the move, though. He's a bit stuck in this 6th position after he lost 2 about a lap ago.
Well, this is a little training of 3 cars. It's actually Liam Quinn on the back of them as well, just a little way back. But Michael Haflidason now, this guy, he's inclined to take chances, Joe, sorry, I'm so used to talking to Bill. He is inclined to take chances, and let's hope that he doesn't take one chance too many as he goes wide. He goes wide into that final approach, turn number 11 that you mentioned there, Joe. He manages to hang on, though. His car control is quite excellent, actually. And he's back on track again, so to speak. But behind him, Liam Quinn, I'm sure, would have had a moment there thinking, do I try and overtake here, or do I just hang back? Now they go to finish another lap. They go through turn 1. So 4 cars here, one behind the other. And in fact, just behind them there, Vincent Brame. So we've got 2 distinct little packs. And then we've got Vincent Brame by himself, and William Martins de Silva by himself as well.
Now, that was 2 mistakes in 1 lap for Haflidason, Richard. He seems a little rattled. I mean, what do you think?
Yes, it's a little bit, some guys look very uncertain in the way they handle this car. This car, you can slide around the track, you can set it up extremely loose, or you can set it up, as I like to do, to race like a tin top. But that's not the way to be fast in this car, apparently.
And Bastian Hausman loses a position to David Burns as he slides around Madness. And in fact, the car is still sideways.
Yeah, a lot. We were just saying, these guys love to slide these cars around. That apparently, I can't see how it's the fast way around, but I'm told reliably that you've got to set these cars up pretty loose, otherwise the cars are slow. So, our director has raced this car quite a lot in the past, and we might get some information from him offline, as we see Haflidason once again having it looks as if he wants to dive into Bastian Hausman there, but his car control, as we've mentioned, is really excellent. And even though he's racing hard, there's been no contact in any of the 3, certainly in this little pack here that I've seen,
and
Joe.
We had an accident. Kevin Mills just made some contact with, is that Jeff DeHaze, I believe? Yes, it is. That was coming through turn 11 that they came together. Hayes was taking a little bit of a look on Thomas Kick. He got loose, and unfortunately, it looks like it slowed him up into Mills, who made a little bit of a tip in him, but I don't think they were... It doesn't look like there's a lot of damage. Let's watch it on the replay here. Yeah, I don't think there was any damage at all, just upset the car.
Yeah.
No, never mind. Kevin Mills' nose is gone.
Yep, and their wheels got interlocked there, so yeah, certainly a bit of an accident there. So there are battles all over the park here. Let's go back to Eric Neagle, and just in front of him we have Rob Van Idderking, I believe his name is. There's a battle going on here for position as well, and there are other places where battles are going on. So at this stage of the race, if we go back to the front, let's see what is happening up there. Is Aeronom still our leader, Tuan Tran still in 2nd place, and Piers Cocky rounding out the 3rd position at the moment.
Yeah, we can see our top 3 on screen as they continue their way on, pretty much unfazed. These guys seem to be kind of playing the strategy game here. Nobody really seems to be making any moves, just kind of staying in line. And from what I recall in this series, Noom is used to that. He kind of just bides his time, knowing that these guys are going to cling to him with the draft, and then breaks away once he gets a pit stop in, as we ride on board with Noom and looking back at Tran and Cocky.
That's a great shot. Looking back at the cars following there, and that's thanks to Dougie Beard, who gives us all these great camera shots. Now, I just want to go back to the 2nd pack here, Joe, where we start from Liam Quinn, who's in 7th place there, and you look forward and you see Bastian Hausman as they who's that defensive that's David Burns going very defensive there as they come into China Beach. He trying to keep hold on to that position, which is fourth position. And the others, Hafler has moved up now by the looks of it, Joe. He's moved up into fifth place. He was in sixth, I believe, a little while ago or previous lap. And Bastian Hausmann just behind him as well. These guys are battling hard, just as hard as your top three for that. Well, I guess whoever's going to win out here will be in fourth place.
You're correct in that Hafler did manage to overtake Hausmann for that fifth position. Remember, he was actually up into fourth at the start and slipped back, so he's trying to get back to where he was. And I can tell you, Richard, I've driven these cars quite a bit, although it's been a little while for me. And I think as far as the drifting goes, from my experience, it wasn't so much drifting, just that you needed to rotate the rear of the car quite a bit to try and be fast. Although I guess part of that comes down to these tires being so durable they can handle really slipping and sliding them around, as Hafler takes a little bit of a peek on Burns into the keyhole, but makes no actual move, probably setting him up here for a run down into China Beach.
Yeah, that's correct. This is a great battle that we're looking at here, and those four cars involved, and then of course Liam Quinn just sitting back there. Now we see Bastian Hausmann looking threatening. There goes Michael Hafler once again. He makes the move, stick, Joe. Great move from Michael there. David Burns has to give it up as they go through China Beach. Now they go into the Madness section. Just behind David is Bastian Hausmann. The racing is so close in these cars, as we have come to expect, Joe. It's great racing.
Absolutely. And it belies the name of this league. It's called Absolute Beginners, but man, they have some top-level drivers in here. The reason it's called Absolute Beginners, if you're new to this series, is because they use it as a training tool. They invite all levels of skill in and try to improve everybody. It's a very inviting atmosphere. But I tell you what, it is fierce fighting up at the top. These guys trying to work their way up to fourth between four different drivers, Hafler, Burns, Hausmann, and Quinn at the end of this train.
That is correct. And of course, they have a sister series called the Tony Hayes Cup, which involves the MX-5 and also the Roof C-Spec. And a lot of these drivers switch over to one of those cars to race in that cup, the Tony Hayes Cup. Now we see Bastian Hausmann there, just looking at him, looking for a way past David Burns, who's now slipped back to fifth position, And of course, in front of him, we do have Michael Hafler now sitting in a confirmed fourth position. Going forward from there to Piers Cocky, Antoine Tran, and Aero Nom, we have our top three here still in the same positions that they've occupied now for quite a few laps.
And Bastian Hausmann, top runner, championship contender, blows an engine. It looks like downshifting into China Beach just got a little over aggressive. We're on the replay. We can't see it on here, but behind them there is just a puff of smoke, and that car has expired.
Wow, Joe, that's not something that happens easily with these cars blowing an engine. Normally they are very tolerant of downshift, so he must have gone down 2 gears, perhaps if he's using depending on what gearbox or what shifter he's using, he must have shifted down into the wrong gear completely to blow the engine. He couldn't have just shifted down one gear, which is sad because, as you say, he is one of the top contenders and he's not going to get that fixed very rapidly. There are no fast repairs, as we have mentioned as well, so he's effectively out of this race, Joe.
Oh, disappointment for Hausmann after he was running up in the top five. Now, I was going to say that we may have had the start of our scheduled stops because King did come in, but that I don't think was scheduled. He actually ran into the wall coming through Thunder Valley just on the exit of 9. That was quite a while ago, but he's back out, so he didn't have enough damage. Actually, it looks like we do have the replay here. Let's look at that, Richard.
Yes, indeed. So we see the replays coming up now. We're looking at, or trying to find Bastian Hausmann. Is this the replay for Bastian?
No, this is King.
Okay. So what's...
We're going to watch it one more time on board.
Yep. He loses it down in the valley there, and looks like he hits the Armco barrier. Here we go again.
Clips those tires, yeah. And I said in the lap guide that they don't have to worry as much about that wheel spin coming out of turn 9, but you can still get the car loose, as unfortunately Rob has just exemplified.
Yeah, and the thing is, the wheels on these cars, they are of course entirely exposed, being an open wheel car, and it's so easy to bend the suspension either front or back when you touch the Armco or these walls, and that effectively upsets the balance of the car completely, and the car's undrivable if you do that. So his car will not be this is Rob King we're talking about. His car will not be handling very well at this point.
Hopefully he'll have gotten just a little bit of repair to maybe get the handling back, hopefully somewhat to normal, although I think you're right. It's not going to be like she used to be, and he is down in 16th, but at least he's got his pit stop done. Let's go back to our leaders, as we've got about 28 minutes left to go. We're not quite to halfway, but we're getting there. And Tran still holding on within 0.2 of Noom, but no attempts yet. Same thing with Cocky. I wonder, Richard, if these guys are maybe trying to save a little bit of fuel and leapfrog Noom by just staying behind him?
That is quite possible. The pit stop here is quite a very fast pit stop. You just take a splash of fuel. They don't need much fuel to finish the race either within a 45-minute race. So every little drop that you can save is means that you would possibly spend that few tenths of a second or half a second less in the pits, and that could be critical to winning this race, Joe.
So we watch the number 21 of Tran just hounding Nom, just keeping him within his sights. Now the other side, the side of that coin of saving fuel could be that Tran and Cocky don't actually have the pace to save the fuel. They're actually just using the draft to simply stay up.
Yeah, and of course they could be pushing hard. But one of the things that does impress me, if you look at these drivers, I've been looking at them for a while now, they are not inclined to slide the car around, Joe. They maintain the car's balance, and they go through these corners very smoothly, which is quite the opposite if you look at the guys following them, guys like Michael Hafler-Dyson, for instance, and David Burns, who've been sliding the car around quite a bit. These guys keep good control of the back end of the car. So I think that's the way to drive it. From my own experience of the car, I also feel that there's no necessity for you to be sliding it around.
In fact, speaking of that other group, let's go back to Burns and Hafler-Dyson. They have now become a duo. Remember, there was 4 of them. Hauschman was in there. Quinn was in there. Well, we know what happened to Hauschman because we saw him blow his engine. Quinn, I'm not sure if he just made a mistake and lost the draft or what, but he is now well back, about 3 seconds behind 5th place David Burns.
That's correct. And in fact, he's slowly but surely perhaps falling into the clutches of Vincent Brime, who's back there in 7th place. And he is doing the best he can to get up with the car in front of him. At this point in time, it's not an issue. Aero, back in the pits?
That is correct. Noom has come in. He's working his way towards his stall, which is going to be at the very end of the pit lane since he was the pole sitter.
And that's as well.
There's a number of top runners coming in. It looks like, yes, Noom hits his stall precisely. No mistake there. Hafler-Dyson comes in. Is he going to hit his stall correctly? Yes, he does.
And Joe, this is interesting. This is very interesting because now they sort of on lap 13, they're about halfway through the race. So these guys have done a half and half stop, which they don't take tires. It's just fuel. So I've seen this before where guys come in halfway or guys run all the way till they're on fumes and then come in and take the splash. So it depends on how your strategy is, and obviously Aeronum feels that he is best served by coming in at the halfway point roughly.
I think he wants himself to get clear track and maybe get away from Tran and Cocky. If he thinks he can pace faster than them, break the draft The real question is going to be whether Tran and Kaki come in this lap to not allow him to leapfrog. We've seen Tran go very long on strategy in previous races. Is he paying attention, or is he going to try and run the thing dry and then come in for that little splash and dash at the end? We'll find out here. He heads in. So does Kaki.
Yeah, yeah. That was a very, very iffy entry into pit lane, but he gets the job done, and Piers Koki and Tuan Tran were second and third place getters, who now became first and second place. They are in the pit, so Aeronom should be coming around to reassume first place again once all the pit stops pan out, and David Burns is in there as well, Joe, and they come out side by side.
Kaki almost jumped him in the pits, as you said, side by side, but Tran manages to sneak ahead as they exit. And Richard, I even made a note for myself in the script here that the drivers really need to practice that pit entry, because if you haven't, it can catch you out.
Oh, absolutely. The pit entry, it's particularly the left-hand turn into pit lane itself, that can be very tricky. But Joe, the interesting thing that from my perspective is that Aeronom has passed these two as they're battling now for position here. And in fact, Piers Koki just goes by Tuan Tran as if he's standing still there, heading down towards China Beach. But what I was about to say is that up front there, Aeronom has actually got a little break on these guys, whereas they were very close to him previously. Now he's got a tiny little break there, a couple of seconds ahead of these guys.
About 2 seconds ahead in that single lap that he had. That tells you the kind of pace that Noam has over these guys. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to catch him as Kaki goes way off track. Manages to bring it back on.
He's back on, and once again we've caught that on camera. He comes back on track again, but that was a big moment there for Piers Koki, who was in third place. These guys are down at the moment on some of the guys who still have to pit, but that was a horrible moment there for Piers Koki.
And Kaki actually gets onto the text chat and says sorry for sliding way off and then coming back on like that. But Richard, to me it looks like with the gap that Noam has, and these guys, both Tran and Kaki, are going to be able to see that and be aware of that. It looks like they're just saying, screw trying to get the win here. Let's just fight each other for this second place, because they are going at it now.
Yes, they are. And don't be fooled, folks. Liam Quinn and Vincent Brame are in fact in first and second position on the track at the moment, but they have not yet done their pit stops. Let's stay with this Piers Koki Tuan Tran battle. So Piers Koki backs it off at the moment, heading towards China Beach. He had an opportunity to attack Tuan Tran there, but did not. So he's saving a little bit of his stuff perhaps for later, bearing in mind that 25 minutes have progressed in this race. In fact, they've only got 21 minutes left in the race now, Joe. So guys are starting to think of their overtaking strategy. Where are they going to try and do the move? With these cars, the draft that these cars can generate is quite astounding actually, and you can't get away easily from someone to break the draft. So it's all about where you will make your move, and you want to leave it as late as possible, but not too late to try and get that position that you're looking for, Joe.
And Tuan Tran is certainly having trouble trying to shake Piers Koki, as you said, with that draft. Let's look a little bit farther back in the pack. We'll jump back to these guys if things start to erupt, because I saw that Jeff DeHaas is trying to chase down Mark King for 12th. And for these guys, even these positions are important. I believe the points go up to 15th, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about the point standings at this stage, but let me just go back quickly to the front here. It's interesting to me, Aeronom is up with Vincent Brame, and Vincent Brame still has to do his pit stop. Vincent Brame actually gives up that position. So Aeronom in traffic at the moment. He's got Liam Quinn now in front of him, and it remains to be seen whether the two behind him, that's Piers Koki and Tuan Tran can follow him through because they are in traffic at the moment. And that just goes to show how fast these guys is compared to Vincent Brame. Hasn't done his pit stop yet, and it's just been lapped.
And on screen, we did see Pierre Skaki overtake for 4th place down into China Beach. And it looked like Tran did give that one up. I think these guys aren't fighting too hard at this point. When the other person gets a good run, they're kind of just lifting and letting them through, knowing that there's still 20 minutes left to go in this race. But with all this back and forth, that you are right, they are in fact losing to Aero Noom, who is now over 2 seconds ahead in spite of having to work his way through the traffic of Vincent Brame.
Yeah, that's a very good strategy play. Now, I've seen Aero Noom do that before. And what it does is, first of all, he breaks the draft. So he gets in the pits and does his pit stop. He's got to get that perfect, though, which he has. And so he gets that pit stop. He comes out, and the guys that were around him are no longer around him unless they have managed to match him in the pits. And so he either gets a little break or, in any case, he's not involved in that battle. But let's go back here to Cocky and Tran, who are really fighting it out. And there you can clearly see how the draft works, Joe. There's no point in even trying to stop the guy behind you from overtaking down that long back straight.
Just swapping back and forth at this point. And now Kaki and Tran are also going to come upon Vincent Brame unless Brame pits very soon. They're going to overtake him with Brame still having his stop yet to go. Quinn is still our leader. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say that Liam Quinn out front still has to do a pit stop as well. And Liam Quinn is also not that far in front of Aero Noom. In fact, he's only 2 seconds ahead of Aero Noom and has to do his pit stop. So by the time he gets his pit stop done, these guys are going to be some 20 or 30 seconds back, as we see Vincent Brame heading into the pit lane now.
All right, Brame affects his strategy call. And he's going to slip down the order. And actually, Noom is within half a second. He's not even 2 seconds away from Quinn. Close it in on him. He's going to get that notorious draft. And he's not going to be able to pass down into the keyhole, but he's going to get right up behind him. And I think this is going to be an easy job for him to overtake down into China Beach. Look at him just square off that corner, lining him up. It gets a great run. Yes, this is probably going to be an easy job for Noom.
And Cocky and Tran, they're scratching their heads a little bit, thinking, how are we going to get up there with Aero Noom again? And I don't think they're going to get it done, because the gap from Aero Noom to Tuan Tran is 4.2 seconds at the moment. So that was 2 seconds roughly when they came out of the pits. That has just increased. So Aero Noom laying down some really fast laps at the moment to get away from these guys and seal the deal for first place, which undoubtedly he will get once Liam Quinn either goes into the pits, if he doesn't overtake him before that.
If you're new to the Absolute Beginners League, Noom has won 4 out of the 5 races this season. He's been dominant in previous seasons as well. This Bushfink pink car has been up at the front and used to that position for quite a while.
And talking about these teams now, Team Bushfink, they came out at the beginning of this year, and they've got cars in a lot of different series, both endurance as well as sprint series, and all over the place. Mika Eshouse is one of their top drivers as well. And Aero Noom, they've also got Koen Klopman in there and a bunch of other drivers who don't partake in any of these races here. But Aero Noom is one of their top drivers, and he is involved in the Absolute Beginners Tony Hayes Cup, as well as their sister series, the this one here, which is of course the Formula Neagle Cup.
Right now, the closest battle we've got is for what is 3rd and 4th right now, but will be 2nd and 3rd once Quinn comes in for a stop. So we've kind of been keeping quite an eye on that. But let's give a little bit of time to some of the other drivers that are having a good race. Eric Luca, we've only seen him a little bit so far, but he's sitting in 7th. This is a nice run for him. He started in 12th, so that's 5 positions gained. How about a little bit of a credit for Eric Luca?
Yes, indeed. And just a little further back, one spot further back, we now have Michael Haflidason. Now we were following Michael at one stage, battling there in 4th place, and he's fallen back now to 8th place on the track. Probably call it 7th place after Quinn goes into the pits, but he's looks as if he's used up a lot of his stuff and now just running back in 8th place there. But still doing a great job, still in the top 10 of the smallish field at the moment.
Although looking through, I do see that Neagle has yet to pit. So I think he's going to slip a little bit farther down the order. We've got a few drivers that are trying to run these things dry and then come in. Now, it doesn't matter quite so much when they come in because everybody's got to take the same amount of fuel with this limited fuel cell. Even still, sometimes it can vary up where you wind up depending on how your strategy plays out as we watch Williams Martin da Silva in 5th at the moment. He's one of those drivers who's yet to come in for that splash and dash.
Yes, and I'm just having a look here at the timing and scoring. So Liam Quinn hasn't pitted yet. There's William Martins da Silva hasn't made his pit stop yet, and of course Eric Neagle as well. We've got a few others there as well. Thomas Kick and Mark King haven't made their pit stop, so the positions will change a bit. Now, just going back to that pit stop, Joe, the pit stop is critical. Your entry into the pit lane is critical. You can lose seconds there. Your approach to your pit stall and your parking in the pit stall has to be absolutely perfect, or you can lose seconds there. And then, of course, you've got to take the right amount of fuel, otherwise you will lose seconds there. There's just such a lot of time to be gained or lost in the pit, so it's absolutely critical that the drivers practice that. And you know, that is quite unfortunate. Not many drivers actually practice their pit stops. They'll do lots of practice on the track, but the most critical part of the race when there is a pit stop involved is the pit stop itself.
And speaking of pit stops, Liam Quinn finally steps out of 2nd place, comes in for his stop, and that's going to release Tuan Tran and Piers Cocky up into 2nd place as Piers Cocky goes way off, pouncing the car over the grass and alternate routes. My goodness.
He's done that before, and now let's just run down. It looks like most of the pit stops, particularly in the top 5 or so, have been completed. So Aeronom now leading over Tuan Tran by just on 5 seconds there, Joe. Piers Cocky, who we just spoke about, he is in 3rd place. He's very close to Tuan Tran. We're going to have to be looking at a battle here for 2nd place soon as they go down into China Beach. Then we have in 4th place, we've got David Burns. And who is our effective 5th place at the moment? Would that be
I think Haflidason.
Yeah.
He's actually in a little bit of a scrap with Neagle, although Neagle has yet to pit. So if I were Haflidason, I wouldn't be fighting too hard with Eric, knowing that he's going to be peeling away any time now. But to your point, Richard, about needing to practice the pit stops, that's actually one thing I love about this league and the setup, the format that they have for these races is, you know, they could just make this a 45-minute sprint race. These cars with a full fuel cell could easily make that, but they limit it, really forcing these drivers to learn and think about having to work out the strategy of the pit stops, and as you said, practicing them to really nail, you know, the entry of the pit, the exit of the pit, coming into your stall, all those things.
Exactly, Joe. And in fact, iRacing, well, not iRacing, but the community, the various communities that race all of the cars that iRacing have on offer, they are starting, and I know in our series, my official series, which is the Advanced Mazda Cup, people are starting to think that we want longer races so we can have pit stops in there, because when we join a league, then we know what to do. So that's being introduced into a lot of the official series as well, and I think that's a good thing.
Meanwhile, as we watch this battle for 2nd, that was Jeff DeHaze that got out of the way. As Bill likes to say, he's going to get a nice bear claw at the Back Markers United meeting. He was staying out of this battle knowing that he has no part in it.
Yes, indeed, the Back Markers United meeting. That is Bill Subzan's favorite saying. And of course, Bill Subzan himself is the president of club, which, by the way, is an entirely fictitious thing. Now, I'm watching Michael Affledation. This guy, he's fast, but he's fast in a really weird kind of way. He flings that car around the track as if it is made of, I don't know. The way he slides the thing around is just incredible. There's this. It doesn't seem like he should be fast in it, but yet he does manage to hang on to some really good places in this series.
He's currently running 6th. He's going to get bumped up to 5th any moment now, because actually right now, because Martin De Silva is now into the pits himself. And there you see it. Michael Affledation now moves himself into 5th, but he's got a whole 7 seconds up to David Burns. I don't think he's going to be running him down unless Burns makes a serious mistake.
Well, Joe, the only battle that we can see at the moment, and bear in mind these guys are on lap 23, is between David Burns and Piers Cocky. And once again, these guys have swapped positions. It is obviously that they are trying as hard as they can to make up ground to get closer to Aeronom. That is not happening. Aeronom still has about, well, it kind of fluctuates. At the moment it's 4.6 seconds. A little while ago it was 5 seconds. So they're making a little inroads, but tenths of seconds is not going to get them up there. They have to, and really there's nothing else they can do. They have, they've lost this race if things stay the way that they are. And bearing in mind there's only about 8 minutes left in the race.
And a quick correction, it's actually Tran and Cocky. Burns is a little ways back from these guys.
Yep, sorry.
That's okay. Oh, and we had a car
Who's
off
that?
there. Yeah, that's King. What happened to him? He's at pit entry and he's stopped. He should be able to tow the car. Let's look at the replay here. I'm not...
He's just sitting there.
Yeah. I'm going back a little bit. He doesn't seem to hit anything. I wonder if this is the we love to mention that...
Has he run out of fuel?
I don't think so. No, he's taking a pit stop. No, I think this is probably a case of this is sim racing, and we're all in
failure.
What's that?
Equipment failure.
It could be that, or it didn't look like equipment failure because he doesn't, unless the screen went black right at that moment. I would say almost maybe something happened in his room or in his house that he had to actually just step away from his rig, maybe, because I don't know why he wouldn't exit out of the car. This is unusual.
It is, and that does happen. I have, and now he starts moving here, but he doesn't go into pit lane. He heads towards the track. This is weird.
I think he got the FedEx package and now he's come back to his rig. So
I think he may have needed a toilet stop. So
well, that
has happened.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to keep going, but sadly for him, he's a lap down, and he's now in 16th. He was a little bit higher than that before that. I want to say he was somewhere from between 10th and 13th, so that's a lot of positions lost.
Some big news here. Tuan Tran had a moment there. I saw him go briefly off track, and now he's lost the touch a little bit here with Piers Cocky. So let's see if we can get that on a replay perhaps, because something happened to Tuan Tran just a little while ago.
And that was in an unusual spot. You'll see it here. This is right when we took our attention away. He went way off and actually went into the kitty litter to keep the car steady out of the final turn. Now, the final turn usually is just flat out in this car. I'm not sure. What did he do to really mess it up through there?
Strange things happening at the moment, but he now has lost touch with Piers Cocky. In fact, he's 1.6 seconds, 1.7 seconds now behind. And these guys have caught up a little bit with Aeronom. The gap between Cocky and Nom is now 4.2 seconds. These guys are not going to catch him before the end of this race. That's almost a given now, unless Aero has a really bad accident or some situation that happens there. But at this moment, Aeronom comfortably leading by 4 seconds over Piers Cocky, who's now got a good lead of, we said 1.6, 1.7 seconds over third place getter Tuan Tran, who had that moment.
Well, with that battle split up, let's jump back down to 8th because Neagle has Martins de Silva after his pit stop all over the back of him. They're coming down to the China Beach now. Is de Silva going to try and make a move? Yeah, here he goes. Moves to the inside. Neagle does not defend. Is he going for the over-under? Yes, he is. Martins de Silva goes way wide. He's off into the grass. Comes back on. Neagle says, thank you very much. I'll just take that back.
Yeah, it just overcooked it a little bit, de Silva did. And made the overtaking maneuver, then couldn't quite keep it under control as they went down into China Beach. And now they're still very close, so this battle is still on. We'll keep an eye on this here. This is William Martins de Silva and Eric Neagle.
Those guys still going at it. It's de Silva staying to keep a look at him. Now, de Silva managed to keep it only on the grass, didn't go too far wide, but Richard, do you know why they call it China Beach down there at the end of the straightaway?
No, sir. I would love to be educated on that.
It's a little bit more like sand at this track than it is like gravel. So if you go too far wide, you have a nice day at the beach out in the middle of the sand.
Okay. And I have seen people go down the hill there at the bottom of the track and end up like you can't even see them anymore. They're that far down the hill there. Because the banking, it just falls away completely at
Absolutely.
that corner. And if you get it wrong, you go for a long slide down the grassy hill and you end up on the beach, obviously.
All right, de Silva, try number 2. Can he get it right this time? He's got a good launch. He's going to go to the outside, as Neagle says, I'm going to defend this time around, see how that plays out. De Silva is ahead. Neagle moves back into line, outbreaks himself just a little bit, goes around the outside. That's a little bit brave after what happened last time. Unfortunately, I think Martins has got the job done.
Yeah, I think that Neagle was just taking a little bit, practicing a bit of avoidance there so that he didn't have the same line as de Silva just in case something went wrong. But these two, they are battling. They really are battling. Now let's just turn our attention back to Tran, who's got what's going on here. There's some battling going on up ahead of Tran there. That's Cocky and Mark Riddell. No, it's not a battle. It's Mark Riddell being overtaken, and being lapped, in fact.
Which could play into these guys, depending on if Riddle backs out of it and gives him the line. He does. Nice job by Mark, trying to stay out of this fight. And the same thing with Adam Olenson. He gets out of the way of Tuan Tran. However, now there's a buffer between Tran and Cocky in the form of Riddle. But they're running out of time anyways.
Yes, this is the old pick, as they call it. The gap's still 1.6 seconds from Tuan Tran to Piers Cocky and a car in between. So this is looking good as we see Piers Cocky sliding the car. Wow.
Riddle getting on the radio asking him if he's okay after that.
Wow. And Mark Riddell is saying pass right, and Mark Riddell gives it up to Tuan Tran, but Tuan Tran a lot closer now. Joe, in the final stages of this race, there's only a 1 second gap. He's in the draft. Can he do something as they head down towards turn number 1? And then they'll head up towards the keyhole. He'll have draft all the way around to China Beach here. Can he do something? We'll keep an eye on this one because it's not quite done yet.
Well, I think it might be a little bit too little, too late, because we are now into the final lap. And
this is the white flag has flown, and Tuan Tran struggling to do something. I think you're right. There's not going to be enough time, not enough laps left for him to do anything. We're on the final lap. Aeronom out front there by 6 seconds now after all that drama, and looks like he's going to take the win. And Piers Cocky and Tuan Tran might be the podium getters, and we'll just confirm that for you in a little while.
Yeah, on the entry to Madness, we saw just a little bit of a flash of Noom as these guys continue to battle. In fact, let's go up to our leader, because I don't think there's anything going to erupt between second and third unless Cocky makes another big slide. So Noom, just 3 more corners to go. Comes up, swings it through turn 11. Tries to get it woed up for the carousel, this long and frustrating turn. takes that first apex, swings it wide, brings it around for the second tighter apex through the final kink. Aeronome is going to make it 5 out of 6 wins this season.
And Piers Cocky just coming around into the final corner now, as does Tuan Tran. Piers Cocky getting the second place, Tuan Tran taking third, and we go now to David Burns as the rest of the drivers finish off their race, and we see that Tuan Tran has deliberately probably blown his engine after crossing the line just to have a bit of fun.
How about credit for Burns? Very quiet and well-earned 4th place. Just kind of ran his own race. Didn't really have anybody to fight. Same thing, Michael Haflidace. A little bit more excitement for him, though, but still a top 5. And he actually started 5th, so at least he didn't lose anything. Liam Quinn comes home in 6th behind him, with Brame, who runs into him there at the end of the race, comes home in 7th. We've got cars just finishing up behind them in the top 10 there. In fact, last car in the lead lap is going to be Edgar Sancinelli. He's got about a 25-second gap up to Eric Lukel ahead of him in 9th. So 10 cars on the lead lap. It is Sancinelli. There we see Thomas Kick in 11th, who's a lap down. Maybe he's actually finishing on the lead lap here.
Yeah, and Michael Key as well, by the looks of things. Thomas Kick and Michael Key appear to still be on the lead lap from timing and scoring for my racing.
All right, I think this is unofficial, but I think this should solidify the championship for Aeronome, if I'm not mistaken. So he should be our champion with this win. However, we will try and confirm that later. In the meantime, we're going to go to break. We're going to have the unofficial results after that, as well as driver interviews. And on screen during the break, stick around because we've got upcoming races here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Welcome back to Mid-Ohio out in Buckeye Country, and Aeronome has taken yet another win here in the Absolute Beginners Formula Neagle Cup, brought to you by ilovesimracing.co.uk. Piers Cocky tried to give him a good fight in the first half of the race, but some pit stop strategy allowed Aeronome to try and get away from those guys, and they just could not chase him down in the latter half. Kaki, despite a few mistakes, still came home in second, and Tuan Tran, with a big mistake later on at the end, lost the gap. And despite running up in the final one, still finished in third. David Burns, as we mentioned, a very quiet fourth place for him. Michael Haflidason with some incredible slides through some of these corners, still manages the top five. Liam Quinn, another quiet driver, didn't really have anybody to battle all day, still manages sixth. Vincent Brame behind him in second. Williams Martin de Silva had to battle his way past Eric Lukel and got an eighth for that. Lukel in ninth. And then Edgar Sanchinelli moved up one position, starting 11th and finishing in 10th. Richard?
And Thomas Kick finished in 11th place with Michael Key bringing up 12th place. Now, these were all the cars that ended up on the lead lap. Then we go to cars that finished the lap down. Mark Riddell in 13th place. Mark King in 14th place. Jeff de Haas in 15th place. And Rob van Iddeking in 16th place. 4 laps down, Adam Ollenson in 17th place. Bastian Hausman, with an unfortunate blown engine early in the race, finished 20 laps down. He is finishing in 18th. And Kevin Mills finished in 19th place, 21 laps down. So he only turned a lap or two.
And Rob Iddeking finishing all the way back in 16th. The world wants to know what happened. Unfortunately, that mystery remains, as he hasn't let us know in the chat. But if he hops in, we might have a chance to try and talk to him. We'll see. In the meantime, another driver who had a bad race that has been waiting to talk to us is Bastian Hausman. Let's bring him in, and Richard is going to ask him what happened with the downshift.
Hey, good evening.
We certainly. Bastian, have you got a copy?
Yeah, I got a copy. You hear me?
Yeah, Bastian, this is Richard. And I just want to, we commiserate with you that you couldn't finish the race. Can you tell us what happened in that corner there when you blew your engine?
Yeah, well, I was a little bit sick last week, so I didn't have any time to practice. Today was the first time I was driving the track. And I think I'm still a little bit sick, so my concentration wasn't perfect, and I just touched the shifter twice and blown my engine.
Okay, so tell us about that. You've got have you got an H pattern shifter, or are you using a sequential shifter?
No, I'm just using a sequential shifter. So I tapped it twice instead of once, and I blown the engine.
Okay, yeah. Well, we suspected that you must have shifted down twice to get a blown engine, because really you can shift down quite easily with these cars and not blow the engine. So that was unfortunate. You were in a good position. I forget where you were at the time, but you were certainly up there and looking for a good race, no doubt.
Yeah, I was in 6th position. I was trying to take it easy a little bit because I was a little bit sick, so I didn't want to push too much. I didn't want to make any mistakes, but still it happened. I tried to just do the race, and after the pit stop I wanted to fight a little bit, but that never happened.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate. Well, Bastian, we commiserate with you for your bad race, but of course there's a couple more. How many more rounds do we have before the end of the series? We should be getting close now. I think it's an 8 or 7 round series.
Yeah, I believe it's only Spa that's left, the last race. I'm trying to do really good there, I hope. I know the track pretty well.
Okay. Well, thank you, Bastian, for talking to us, and we hope that you have a great race at Spa and that you finish well up there and, you'll get your championship points up as high as you can.
Yeah, thanks. I want to congratulate Eero Nom on the Drivers' Championship and the Team Championship as well. So, great job for him.
Yes, he's done it already, and there's still one round to go, so great drive from him. Nevertheless, thank you once again for talking to us, and back to you, Joe.
In fact, speaking of Eero Noom, we're going to talk to our supposed champion after his win today. We've brought him into the booth. Eero, it sounds like if our math is right, you've taken the championship with this win. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, talk to us about that pit stop. You took it just about halfway, and second and third, Cocky and Tran were trailing you the whole way. Was that timing intentional to try and drop them and get away from them?
Yeah, I was thinking to even stop earlier, but the gaps behind was so close, so finally I saw the gap where I can come out of the pit, so that was perfect.
And it seems like it's been a few seasons now where you've just been an absolutely dominant force in the championship. Do you expect to continue that next season, or is there any new blood coming in that can give you a run for your money?
Yeah, we have to see.
All right. Well, again, congrats on the win and congrats on the championship.
Thank you.
That was Ironome, first place today and first place overall this season. He's going to get that custom-made button box from ilovesimracing.co.uk. We got one more interview to do before we take off. That is second place Piers Cocky. I believe Richard is going to talk to Piers and see how that battle with Tuan Tran went.
Certainly. Thank you, Joe. Piers Cocky, do you have a copy?
Yeah. Hello. How you doing?
Yes, this is Richard speaking to you. So, Piers, congratulations, first of all, on a good second place there. And tell us about your battle with Tuan Tran. That was just carrying on throughout the race. And then Tuan, towards the end of the race, they made a big mistake, and that handed you the second place on a plate. You must have been happy about that.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, second place is about as good as a win when Eero's around, I guess. But he's, I don't think I could beat Tuan in a head-to-head fight. So I was quite lucky that he did mess up towards the end, and I was quite surprised actually that the final lap came around when it did. I thought we were sort of halfway through, so it went a lot quicker than I thought.
Yeah, you guys were not exactly battling in the latter part of the race. It seemed to me in the booth here that you were trying to work together because you were slingshotting each other down towards China Beach there, trying to make up some time on Aero. Was that the case?
Yeah, we tried. I mean, I wasn't fast enough coming onto that long straight to actually go past him. So if I was quicker and I could have drafted past him at that point, then I guess we may have had a slightly bigger chance of catching Eero. But honestly, I think he was just too fast, even if we had managed to pull that off.
Yeah, and in fact, if you think about it, he dropped you guys off in the pits by having a lightning fast pit stop and coming out a couple of seconds ahead of you guys. And then was a bit of traffic involved, and he was gone.
Yeah. I was a bit worried because I had a slightly quicker stop than Tuan, and that's a bit unusual because he's usually very fast in the pits. So I thought maybe I'd underfueled, not for the first time. And yeah, like when we both came out together, I think we worked out after the race actually that we had about 5 laps too much fuel, both of us. So maybe that was partly to blame as well, being so far behind him.
Yeah, okay. Well, look, next race is the final race in the series. We believe Ironome has already wrapped up the championship, and you guys head over to Spa, so it should be a fun race. Lots of draft over there. You're looking forward to that one?
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good fun.
All right, Piers. Well, go ahead.
No, nothing. I was just going to say it's probably the only chance we can keep on the back of Eero on a track like that. So it should be quite close, I think. It'll be fun.
Oh, yeah. The Camel Straight sorts out the men from the boys pretty much in any race and in any car. Well, thank you very much for talking to us, Piers, and congratulations once again on your second place. Great job.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Back to you, Joe.
That's going to wrap it up for today for the penultimate round of the Absolute Beginners League. Once again, we want to thank ilovesimracing.co.uk for sponsoring this season and offering that wonderful prize that it sounds like Ironome is going to be able to claim. Also, thanks to Liam Quinn, the organizer of this league, for all the work that he does behind the scenes. And thanks to the software and hardware that we use for our broadcast. You can see those listed on your screen. Additional thanks to our musical contributors, Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, whose music you can also find at the websites listed. Thanks to the team today, Richard, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com along with archived races and upcoming broadcasts. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. Definitely give us a ring on those. We love interacting with our fans on social media. Ask us questions. Tell us what you think of the race. Next race, as we mentioned, that's going to be at Spa, the final round of this season. That'll be Sunday, November 27th at 1:45 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series on screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.